Well, hello, Pastor Greg here, Faith Lutheran Church in Harvey. Starting to get a little warmer weather out there, so I'm kind of glad to see that. We've been busy kind of just keeping things going here at the church. And, if you had a celebration this last weekend, I'd love to hear about what you did and what you did that was out of the norm. A lot of people have normal traditions that they do on Easter, Easter Sunday, or even the Saturday prior to Easter. So it's always fun. It would be fun to hear if maybe you started a new tradition, or at least came up with some ideas of something that's going on in your lives that's different than normal, and that you might think, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. This last week we brought you a Good Friday service and a Maundy, Thursday service, and I hope you enjoyed that. And of course, our Easter Sunday morning service was great. Even though that you weren't here, the celebration of the risen Son is just such a great story that, it doesn't matter wherever you are to celebrate that great news of the risen Christ, that the tomb is empty. So I hope you had a good Easter celebration. If you ordered a lily, they're here at the church. Come get them. They're at the back door. Just walk in. There are, I think, still 8 of them there. And I know we had a couple extras, but I think one of them's gone. But certainly, if you want yours, come and get it. I'm here typically at the church from 9 to 4:30, 4 or 5, somewhere around there. Just stop by, pick it up. I'm trying to keep them watered and cleaned, so hopefully it'll still be alive when you get here. If not, we'll reuse them on Sunday. Quick reminder to continue to pray. Pray for people. Pray for calmness and understanding. Pray for healing for those who need healing. Pray for yourselves in keeping calm and in looking forward to what would be the end of our seclusion that we're in. It's just something that we're not used to doing as people. We are people who like to gather. And I think that's probably even more prevalent in the north than it is in some big cities, or I should say the rural areas more than it is in some big cities. So hopefully you're able to at least see your neighbor and talk over a distance and make sure they're doing okay. So keep checking on your neighbor. Make sure they have everything they need. Make sure if they need some running done, that you either get that taken care of. Find somebody who can help. We could probably arrange some things here through the church. So please keep them in your mind. So that's really what I've got for this week as far as announcements and things. We're just going to keep moving forward. I'm looking at possibly next week starting a Bible study on Zoom. If you're familiar with Zoom, you can log in. It's interactive, or if you don't have a computer, you can call in on a telephone and participate that way. So there's lots of different ways that you can participate, but we need to put that together and figure out what day would work best and time would work best. If you have some ideas, get a hold of me. Tell me. Let me know. It's the only way I can focus. So, all right. Enough of all that. So here we should talk a little bit about this upcoming Sunday. It's interesting. If you want to stop now and take a read, I'll be talking about the John text, and that's John 20, verses 19 through 31. And that's the Jesus appearing to the disciples and Thomas. We call him Doubting Thomas. So if you want to take a moment to read that before we start, you can go ahead and do that now. Pause and then restart. So anyway, here we are, John 20. And, of course, the resurrection has happened. They've heard, the men have heard about this resurrection by this point, but they're still afraid because they don't know what's going on. And so they go in their rooms, and they lock themselves in their rooms, and Jesus comes to them. And Thomas isn't there. Thomas has missed this particular time where Jesus comes together. And we give Thomas a bad rap. He comes to the men, Jesus comes to these men, he says, "Peace be with you." And the men are just ecstatic to see their teacher. Then they understand what it means to be risen, and they're still not sure though, because they come back again and they're still locked in the door. They're still locked in the room. They're afraid of what the world will think about this whole thing. But I want to kind of focus on Thomas a little bit because, like I said, we give Thomas a bad rap always. And it's bad for us to call him doubting Thomas because I don't think he doubted. He just wanted the same thing the men had seen. He wanted to see Jesus. Not that he was a non-believer, but that he just wanted the same thing they had. That he wanted to see the same risen Christ. But the real issue is why wasn't Thomas there? And we don't know. It doesn't tell us. But just think about our lives today as we work through this issue of being sequestered in our homes, so to speak. Although we have much more freedom here in North Dakota than some places, the issue is that somebody had to go. And these men were afraid to go out. It wasn't that they were afraid of a disease. They were afraid of being killed by those who killed Jesus. So, I get it. I get where they are. I would be afraid too. But Thomas isn't there, so he's somewhere. He's moving around the community, doing something. Maybe he's getting the groceries that the men need. Maybe he's getting, other things, or maybe he's going and visiting people. We just don't know. But the fact is that he's out and about while the men are locked in a room. Well, he eventually comes back, doesn't he? Comes back and they tell him, "We've seen the Lord." And who wouldn't want to go, "Well, I'd love to see the Lord too." But here he is. He's not that he's doubting. He just wants to see. He wants to see, he wants to touch, and he wants to feel the Lord himself. To be assured that the Lord is that to which they said. And here it is. He comes, the Lord comes, Jesus comes to him, says, "Touch me, look at me, here I am, flesh and blood, and yet I'm still this risen man." This idea of being able to come and go through locked doors. Jesus again meets these men where they are. And that's the important thing to remember. And I've been pushing that all Lent season. And here we are going into the Easter season, and Jesus meets them where they are, in a locked room. The important thing of this text is really that verse 29, where Jesus says to Thomas, "And have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Now, in a text study earlier today, we were reminded that you believed because you have seen me is a plural you. Jesus is talking to everybody there. Have you all believed because you have seen me? But be blessed knowing that if you haven't seen Jesus, the risen Jesus, and believed, it's okay. You're blessed as well for the same way that the men were blessed. So take that today. Take that with you. Take that around town with you. Everywhere you go, know that the risen Christ, that Jesus himself, is with you through the power of the Spirit everywhere you go. And that, yes, sometimes we're going to doubt. Sometimes we're going to have uncertainty. Sometimes we're not going to sure where the next day is going to bring us. But always remember this one thing, and that is that the Lord is always with you. Good words from our text today. Just don't call Thomas the doubting Thomas. Just call Thomas Thomas for who he is. He just wanted the same thing that we all want. And he got everything he needed. And so do we. So I pray for you today that you can take time out to read, to pray, and to ponder what these texts mean. Continue to pray for your neighbor. Continue to hear your neighbor. And continue to pray for your leaders because they're under a lot of stress. Your pastors who are trying to figure out what the next steps are. But continue to pray for all of those, especially those that know that the Lord is with them. And then even more so, the ones who are unsure. Blessings to each and every one of you today. And I look forward to seeing you again on Sunday morning in worship. Take care.